is another episode of Spill the Tea. And I have a surprise for you. Today, my guest with me on today's show or podcast is my one and only, my one and only KG. Kofi Gbedemah is with me today on Spill the Tea. And welcome, Kofi.
Thank you, Nita.
All right, so on today's, at least say something to our viewers.
You've come and put me on blast. What do you want to say? You made my head swell. I'm tongue-tied. What more do you want me to say? Please continue with the flow. I'm watching you.
Yes,
and
learning. All right, viewers. So on today's episode of Spill the Tea, we are going to discuss about loving again. So basically, we are going to talk about how it feels or what it feels like to fall in love again or go into another relationship again after one has been hurt from a relationship or has gone through broken marriage. And so yes, coming to you, Kofi, what do you think? I mean, just generally, what is your perspective and your view about, first and foremost, what is love? Maybe we can start with that. What is love then?
Love is a feeling that is not empirical. It's a feeling that you feel for someone or something that cannot be explained. So you're in love with someone. For example, let me make it simple. You love your child. You have a child, and even when the child does something wrong, something that if it were any other person, you would take a certain set of measures against him or her. Because it's your child, there's a certain block that you cannot explain. It's not explainable.
There's this inhibition.
There's an inhibition
that
exactly.
withholds you from taking certain,
from doing the natural thing because it's your child.
Yeah.
So love is that feeling that you feel towards someone or something that you can't explain, and it's a positive feeling. It's a positive feeling until it becomes a negative feeling. But basically, to me, and from a layman's point of view, that is love. I'm sure if you ask AI, they'll say something else. Or if you go to the Oxford Dictionary, they'll say something else. But to me, that's just it. It's an inexplicable feeling that you have towards someone, a positive feeling that you have towards someone that prevents you from doing or acting normally towards that person.
For me, I also think that I agree with you. I agree with you, but I think that the kind of love that you use as an example, like a love towards a child, for me, I think is different from an amorous one. Okay, so the for lack of a better word, the thoughts and the reservation or sometimes the inhibition of one's actions may be similar, but they are not exactly the same. I'm saying this with the sense that people get married or are in a relationship for so many years, and at some point you would wonder, okay, what went so wrong, and then they are divorced or the relationship ended and stuff like that. However, when it comes to relations like parents and siblings and children and stuff like that, no matter how much they hurt you or whatever the misgivings are within that relationship, it is very rare that one would dissociate completely from that relationship, even if would completely cut off ties from that relationship, even if there's a dissociation. Okay, so for me, I'm thinking that coming from an amorous perspective, as in pardon me, please.
Oh, it's okay. We're in a very what's the word? A very accepting environment these days. So let's continue. Even though it's illegal in some places, why you continue?
So I'm coming from the perspective of two adults.
Okay.
Good. Having amorous feelings towards each other. Yes, and that amorous feeling has been nurtured and it's been developed into something, that binds them together. So for me, I'm thinking that what would go wrong, or how bad could it be that because one failed, getting into another becomes a problem or becomes an issue. Or you'd see, for me, there's this saying that hurt people. So how is it and why is it that in terms of amorous relationships, hurt people, and yet when it comes to our relations, in terms of siblings or offsprings or parents, we do not, in the sense that maybe my sister who is Amma has offended me, and I'm not going to transfer that aggression to Kojo, who is also my sibling, simply because Akosha offended me or hurt me. I hope you get where I'm coming from. Yes. So for me,
let me try and let me try and dismantle the definitions. And then we take it from there. I think my point of divergence from you is where the definition of love comes in. And for me, the feeling of love should have a baseline. So what that means is, when you love somebody, you love somebody. I don't think the characteristics that define what love is should differ from your parents, from your sibling, or from your spouse, or from your child. Because the components that go into you saying you love somebody should be the same. The only difference
there must be
the baseline,
a baseline or foundation of selflessness, sacrifice, commitment, dedication, and platonism.
Yes,
with the sense that there is no reason, you just love the person because you love the person.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So to continue, so for me, and wherever I have the opportunity to say it, or whenever the platform presents itself, I tell people that, look, the reason so many amorous relationships fail is because people tend to look at those relationships as different from the ones they have from their siblings. Now, if you say, for example, I love you, Nita, and I want us to have a life together, the way I treat you should be no different from the way I treat my sister, if I truly love my sister. Should be no different from the way I treat my mother, if I truly love my mother, and from the way I even treat my father, if I truly love my father. The only icing on the cake is the fact that we probably are going to have sex.
Intimacy, yeah.
Yeah, call it just
sex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a sexual act.
Sexual act, yes.
Good. That should be the only difference. Yes. So when you approach the definition of love from that perspective, number one, it will be more difficult for you to break up because you don't break up with your family. You don't break up with your mother.
That begets me to even add that, from like what you're saying, that begets me to add that sometimes it is a thought, like it's a bit worrying to say that, okay, why is it that we've forever been with our childhood friends, we love them, we've grown with them and all those things, and along the journey of friendship a lot has happened, a lot of BS has happened in the friendship, yet the friendship still gets, whatever issues that comes in between the friendship gets resolved. How is it that the kind of love that is exhibited in friendship, as in very platonic friendship, is not translated into amorous relationship? And for me, sometimes I don't get it. That you why, like, your amorous partner would do something that is not even as bad as what perhaps your childhood friend has ever done to you.
And then you find it so difficult to forgive.
Exactly.
It comes back to the same thing. You see, when you regard your amorous partner as your sister, and I'm using sister in this case because I'm a guy, so obviously I'm using the opposite gender. So if you regard your amorous partner as your sister or as your mother, it is easier to then forgive no matter what they do to you.
Yeah.
So when you set that baseline in your mind, psychologically, you've told yourself that, look, this person I'm with is my sister. The amount of protection I'm going to give her will be this. The amount of love I'll give her will be this. The amount of unselfish associations I would give towards her will be this. It's easier for you to then put into perspective the wrongs that they do you.
Okay.
But it is when we, and a lot of us are guilty of this, we disassociate. We don't look at them as our family members. We look at them as somebody who's coming in from the outside. And for me, that's very, very important. When you have established that in your mind, then every other thing pales into insignificance.
And for me, it now makes sense that, there's always this, when there's counseling going on, or you watch other programs, or you are in discourse with people concerning relationships and marriages and stuff like that, you hear people saying that, you are both coming from different backgrounds and you don't know where this person is coming from. So to some extent it makes sense, but the point is, yes, you are coming from a different background, but the person is now becoming a part of you. So in that sense, if I'm getting where you are coming from, the background at that moment shouldn't be a boundary or a basis for you to put the person in a certain category.
Exactly.
But should even be a propellant.
Absolutely.
For you to want to be part, or let the person be part
and pick new learnings. Because different backgrounds automatically translate into new learnings. So again, and sometimes you just need again, I always say this, a type of mindset. And I've also noticed, the thoughts are so many coming at the same time, but you realize that a lot of us are very combative. We like to fight. When any issue comes up, the focus is not on finding a solution to the issue,
but
it's on trying to see who is right. And right from the onset, that also sets a baseline for no solution. So
it's always an offensive and defensive situation.
So
there's nothing like a compromise or a mediation.
I started off on this point and I realized, along the line, you've made some very valid points. I withdraw. I agree. Because in our minds, and you see it everywhere, you see it in our politics, you see it in our churches, they're clapping and let me not even get into that. So there is no point of compromise. It's a 0 or plus, it's binary. It's either 0 or a 1. I'm either right or you are wrong.
Black or white. There is no gray.
There's no gray.
But the
fact of
gray.
Life is that life is full of grace.
Gray, yes.
Life is an endless stream of grace.
Yes.
Because even when you might perceive yourself to be right, you are only right from your perspective, your background, your experiences. When a person also has a different set of backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences, they're also right.
It's also valid.
It is brought even clearer when we use the analogy of the colorblind. Now, we all know that when somebody is colorblind, at least per the scientific definition, it's a difficulty in determining, I think it's between blue and green. So when somebody who's colorblind actually says this is green, and you who are quote unquote certified to be normal says no, this is blue, it's blue to you, and it's only blue because maybe out of 1,000 people 600 say it is blue. 400 say it is green.
Yeah.
But are the 400 wrong?
No, they are not, because also from their perspective, it is green. Yes.
So in that, and again, let's not get into philosophies, but it is there that you realize that the fact that the majority says something is something doesn't make it something.
I get where you're coming from. I remember I was having a conversation with someone, and then while the conversation was going on, there was the insertion of disability, and there was reference to visually impaired people, and the person was, from that perspective, was saying that to a visually impaired person, the only thing he or she knows is pitch black. And so for them, in their world, it is pitch black. They think it is normal. It is us who have sight that make them now know that there is light, there are objects, there are things, yes.
Which brings you to a joke. I don't want to catch you. There was this crusade I saw it on TV some time ago, and this person had been said to be blind all their life. So there was a laying of hands, and suddenly the person could see, and they said, "What is this?" He said, "It's green."
But how would you know it's green if you've never seen green before?
Anyway.
Yeah.
So please, you go.
Yeah. So and so, like, I'm saying this to affirm where you are coming from, like your perspective that life has a lot of grays. It's not black and it's not white, and like you said, there are those that from their perspective, because of maybe a deficiency they have, they see the color to be green, and for those that supposedly do not have that deficiency, they see the color to be blue. And what of somebody who does not even have the sight at all,
exactly.
Sees nothing but pitch black? Exactly. And so yes, I get. So moving from there, what I mean, based on what we've established that love is, okay, and how it should be utopianly, right? How is it that we fall in and out of love? Okay, based on the foundation we've set, how is it that we fall in and out of love, and there are those that are unable to get over the experience they've had to even make an effort to reconcile, not only just reconcile, but even give somebody else the opportunity. So like they punish others for the offense of other people. Yes.
So even though I said it should be classified, every love should be seen from the way you see the love for your family and the love for your parents. The fact is, the single act of intimacy that changes
the
definition is also the start of all the problems.
Okay.
Now, when you get intimate with somebody, you have, in essence, crossed a border or a line. So, you see, and that line then becomes an emotional one.
And it's very thin.
It's a very thin line. And the thing with emotions is that emotions are also not empirical.
Sure.
You can't explain an emotion.
Sure.
You just like that thing, you like that thing, you like that thing.
Yeah.
I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you. There are people who've just met
and
people,
they just don't like them. Yeah. Not that they've offended you in any way. You just do not.
The whole countenance just puts you off.
Yeah.
And you're like, this guy, I don't think I can ever like him.
Even the sheer presence of the person
just makes you annoyed. So, you see, once you start to enter into the realm of non-tangibles, all these things come up. And it's not every issue that can also be explained away. So now, when you become emotional with somebody, you would then not be able to explain a lot of the feelings and a lot of the actions you find yourself in when you now probably have to say goodbye to each other.
That's very true, because sometimes you have a myriad of emotions that you are going through, no matter how try you process it, you cannot process them singularly.
No.
You'd have to process them together, and they would not even make sense to you. Because
back to my
because
emotional thing, it's not
what you feel is inexplicable. Exactly. You just cannot put to words exactly what you because at that moment you're feeling anger, anxiety, disappointment, betrayal, like you're feeling so many things at the same time, and you cannot actually separate them and pinpoint this particular feeling, that this is why I'm feeling this way. Because sometimes too, the feelings are coming, these emotions are rushing and coming together because they are over time. Yes. There are things that
So yes, indeed. So now then comes a big problem, because anything you invest your time, your money, your energies into, you do it with some expectation of some kind of positive reward, even if
I want you to stress that. I want you to stress. The reason why I'm saying this is because no matter, even parents have expectations from their children, and so when people say that don't enter into relationship or marriage with expectation, I think that they are being for lack of a better, but you stress it. I don't know if you can help me, but I know you know where I'm coming from. So yes, please repeat what you said, so that
everyone who enters into any kind of relationship with the other normally does it with an expectation of some kind of reward. So the issue then comes as to what the reward is. And everybody has a different definition of what reward is. Somebody wants an emotional reward. Somebody wants a sexual reward. Somebody wants a financial reward. Somebody just wants
even status.
A status reward.
Or by association.
Yes. But there is, I do not think, and I stand to be corrected, but I do not think there is anyone who does anything for another person and does not expect something in return. We
are all very selfish beings, I say that. And
I'm careful with using the word all.
The reason why I'm saying we are all selfish beings is because, when I say selfish, not like there are people who are selfish, but not in that sense.
Context.
No, not
selfish
in that context.
That you always expect something to endure to your benefit.
To some extent, you get me? Because if I'm going out for a service and I'm paying for the service, it is not out of goodwill that I'm paying for the service. Do you get me? It's because I'm expecting something back.
Even if that something is just the feeling of feeling good.
Thank you. And I will say that even though philanthropism is selfless, you get me?
It's not.
To some extent, it's not. And that's why I wanted us to debunk that's the word. When I use selfish, I wanted us to debunk what the thought would be misconstrued to be. You get it? So that people realize that even philanthropists, in as much as they are philanthropists and they are giving to the less privileged or the less in society or whatever, that feeling in itself is a selfish desire.
It gives them a rush of
fulfillment.
Yes, fulfillment.
Even that fulfillment, even though it's a selfless act, and they are not really expecting anything tangible. But the mere fact that they see someone happy and someone just benefiting, gives them a sense of fulfillment, and that in itself is, to some extent, a selfish desire.
It is.
You get it?
It is. So back to the whole emotional thing is that, and again, this is my opinion, it's based on years of observing people and what they do and how they run their relationships. Everybody expects something when they put themselves into something. So what then happens is, when I've invested all my time, and you see a lot of these stories going around these days. Somebody says, I met her in SSS and I looked after her. She went to university. When she got out, now she realizes I'm not good enough for her. You see all of them. You see a lot of these stories all over the place. So My point is, people expect something, and when they see potential in something, and they put their resources, their time that could have been put to use in other ways, when they put all of that in you, and then at the end of the day it doesn't work, they tend to immediately internalize the thing and be like, if this thing, I've wasted so much of my time, my money, my resources on you, and the result is this. Zero. It's gone away, and somebody else is benefiting from all the time and energy I spent on you.
All the resources.
Then the next person who comes my way, there, I for tear my eye.
Yeah.
I for be wild. I for watch out. I for
yeah.
chuck myself, so that it doesn't happen to me again. And that is where, even though it was Kwesi who committed the crime, Kofi
pays the price for Kwame's indiscretion. Okay, so for me, I'm also of the view that why would it is wrong to punish somebody for another person's mistake. Same way I wouldn't want someone to punish me for another person's deeds. It is wrong. That I get that we have to be self-preserving.
Yes.
And we have to guard our space. Okay. So people don't take us for granted. However, if all of us tend to guard our spaces and all of us tend to be self-preserving, right? Aren't we going to be damaging each other?
Yes, we would. Now, that's why, difficult as it may be, when you are faced with any sort of problem or issues, for me, as a social scientist, there are two ways of going about it. The first requires you tell yourself, you see the situation, say, hey Charlie, I've entered a bad fix. Let me look for professional help. So if that is what you do, immediately you can enter into some kind of counseling, you can enter into some kind of professional help, where they've seen billions of your cases and they can tell your case is no case. We'll sort you out.
That note,
let me just
I just want to affirm what you're saying. On that note, I just want to affirm that there's a lot of notion out there that people who go to see the shrink or a psychologist or go into therapy are mentally ill people. I just want you to affirm and stress on that it is very important, if necessary and when need be, that people appreciate the fact that therapy
is a shortcut to success.
Yes.
Because like I was saying, when you go for therapy or therapy sessions, I think that that's another topic for another. There's a whole lot of misconception thinking that once you go for therapy, it means you are good. But when you know what therapy is, there are various ways of going through therapy. Some are group sessions. It doesn't necessarily mean you are mad or you are going crazy or you have lost it. But it just means that you meet 20 other people in a room and they all have your story.
And so it's a safe space for you.
Exactly. So you enter that and like in the olden days, we had what you call, I don't know if they're still there, Alcoholics Anonymous.
They have
it's a place where people go when
Drug Anonymous and all that.
So when you realize that, the fact that this relationship that I invested so much into has gone south, and I am now looking at, I've probably had 2 or 3 experiences. I've seen somebody, I think this would be good, but I'm like, nah, man, this girl.
Am I going to try this again?
She's going to treat me like the other girl. So Charlie, make it pass.
Yeah.
So you do that 3 times and tell yourself, no, Kofi, Charlie, this thing that you are doing in this way, it will not help you. Go into therapy. Then therapy is very good because with therapy, like I said, you realize you are not the only one with that problem. You meet a professional who says, you're about the 350th person I've met in the space of 3 days. They're like, so people have this problem like me. And I'm not the only one. And knowing you are not the only one in a situation is a relief.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that, okay, so this thing, there can be a solution. So the first and quickest and easiest way of overcoming any kind of trauma that you have undergone is therapy. But let me also say that the truth of the matter is, not many people believe in therapy, understand therapy, or even know therapy exists. So which brings me to the second point where you face your demons and try and battle it out. But you see, with that one, results are not guaranteed. If you are a strong person, after Amma has disappointed you, you meet Akosia, you meet Ajwa,
you meet Equia.
And it's probably after you've met Danswa that you're like, so all girls are not like that.
Yeah.
Now, something that a therapist could have done with you in a month or two.
Why
have taken about 5 years.
You've gone. Why do you go take yourself through that so you've gone trauma over and over again?
From class 1 when you could have quickly have been catapulted to masters.
Yeah.
Then you come to the realization that, let me now love again. Then there's a second scenario where after meeting who's the one who disappointed? I've forgotten her name. AC. But no problem. After meeting AC who disappointed you, you go and meet Abena who also disappoints you.
Yeah.
Without the benefits of therapy, you'll be like, all girls are like that.
I like that. And so you also go about
you go about hating.
And unfortunately for you who's gone onto that tangent, you now start meeting girls who are different and good girls.
But you still treat them
you still be
badly,
treating them
and it becomes
badly.
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
If care is not taken, you tend to also damage those girls,
and they also go around and go and damage. So
it becomes like a cycle, and we all get locked in the loop.
And then you have a whole crop of damaged people speaking on the internet and behaving as if they're the normal ones. So to me, in my very, very limited experience, this is what I see happening. And I would always say that, look, when you find yourself any kind of trauma, if it is love, it is financial, it is business, find yourself a support group. Find yourself a support group. Don't try and handle it on your own, especially if it's the first time it's happening to you. The first time anything happens to you, look for a support group. When you realize that there are a million of you facing the same thing, it becomes easier to manage. You're like, so I'm not unique after all. Okay, so how do we get past stage 1? After stage 1, you go to stage 2. So for me, that is the essence of.
We are just about our time is almost getting up, so we are just about getting into wrapping up. Sure. So basically, and I would want us in talking about this to tie everything in. Okay. So what are some of the things that could even contribute towards people falling out of love? Because we did talk earlier about the contribution of emotions to relationships, especially when there is sexual intimacy and all that. So from that perspective of sexual intimacy in relationship, what are some of the things that perhaps go wrong and are not being able to overlook, and it turns out to cause trauma that leads to people being so hurt that they do not even trust that the next person would be good or would be worth it, and then the cycle goes on and on, like you mentioned.
I use an analogy that I will use again because it's an analogy I'm very comfortable with, and it is that no two people are exactly the same. Not even Siamese twins.
True.
Who are purported to mirror each other.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
And even sometimes share the same organs.
They're not the same.
Yeah.
So when you wake up in the morning and tell yourself that I'm going to meet people who are not the same as I am, it is then easier for you to deal with their conflicts. No two people are exactly the same.
Is it in our place to heal hurt people? Is it in our place to do that? Like, you meet somebody who has experienced a bad relationship and is, having some form of reserved trauma that they've yet to deal with. Is it in your place as a new partner coming to in the person's life to help the person heal?
Well, it's a very difficult question, and I don't want to go into that. I'd much rather start from the premise of like what I started by saying, that you wake up and know that no two people are exactly the same. That in itself makes you amenable to differences in opinion, differences in thoughts, and differences in how things are done. Again, to support this, 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 1 is 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. The numbers in there are all different.
7 plus 2 is 9.
All
10
the numbers
minus
are
1
different. It's 9.
11 minus 2, 9.
So the equation might be different, but the results are
the same. Yeah.
So when anyone meets you with something that seems to differ from what you have always known, listen to the person and see if the results are what you are all trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So again, it's a mindset thing, and it starts with one person at a time. If I'm telling you this today and tomorrow you don't practice it, we'll be back next year having the same discussion. But when you make a conscious effort to apply these things, like these concepts of change, concepts of listening to other people, concepts of trying to find out what the rationale behind what someone is saying makes sense or not, and not the person. They all help in trying to answer the question you asked me, which was that, okay, is it in our place to heal broken people? And for me now, I will answer, the answer is yes. When you see yourself as well put together and you have confidence in yourself and in what you do, when you see someone who is not confident, you will know. You will know. It comes to you. And when you are the bigger person,
just by interacting
with the
sometimes
person,
you don't even have to interact. Just the person's outlook, demeanor.
This person is it's not very sure of themselves. Very in what's the word? When you are not very sure of yourself, there's a word for it. Yes,
if you are
you can see the person has an inferiority. You see, it's not in your place to then rub it in.
And some people can be self-demeaning.
They constantly make statements that show that they do not believe in themselves. They have come from an area of very, 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 very bad experiences. And you as a bigger person who has probably also gone through same and have overcome, it is in your place to heal that person. I believe in that, and I believe in it
for how
sincerely.
long? Because there are some people. Me, for example, okay, I've had people hurt me over and over and over and over and over again, and these are most of the people that have hurt me are sometimes people that I understand where they are coming from, because I feel that I've been in your shoes before, and so I get the perspective where you are coming from, and it's possible. You get it. And so you offer yourself, to be the guiding light, and then they turn out to betray you or hurt you and stuff like that. So it for me even got to a point where I decided that actually I've not even been, because I've not totally put myself together. So why do I keep putting myself out there to continue to be hurt? You get me? But then also I also again from a hindsight go like, so what if someone also has the opportunity to lend me a helping hand and be my guiding light through my trauma or whatever challenges that I have experienced or I'm going through, would I want the person to
also give up to you?
So you see the conflict.
So we are all works in progress. Nobody has it all together. Not even the person who is acting as your therapist. Nobody has it together.
Even the therapist goes to therapy.
Exactly. Who watches the watchman? So even though we sound like we have it together, we have the answers, we do not. Nobody.
We still have our challenges.
Nobody has all the answers. And even though people prefer solutions, some of the people who prefer solutions are still going through trauma themselves. That is also why I have a problem with people who say things like, but you are like this. Why are you telling me not to be like this? And I tell them that, look, even the person who smokes cigarettes tells the non-smoker or the person about to start smoking that, Charlie,
don't smoke.
Don't smoke.
Yeah. Even a smoker, should a non-smoker asks for a cigarette from a smoker, the smoker says no. Because if you don't smoke, I wouldn't be the reason for you to start smoking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's something that we should learn to do, and we should most of the times also learn to separate the arguments and dismantle the arguments and learn to put things in their proper places. So the therapist himself sometimes needs a therapist.
Therapy, yeah.
Yes. So nobody has it 100%. And that is very, very important. That so even us sitting here giving advice, it's only advice based on years of association. And
we are just expressing our opinions based on our experiences and maybe that of others that we associate with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and of course we are also sharing the positive results. The things that we have seen people do and have come out of what they found themselves in. So it is that we are sharing. It doesn't mean we have it together or we are 100%, but we are just sharing what we've seen is the blueprint for success. So
basically, do we as people, do we have to give ourselves the opportunity to love again?
Yes.
Find love again?
Yes.
Despite that we've been hurt?
Yes.
And we shouldn't use that as an excuse to even punish people.
No. So again, I like analogies because sometimes it sets the conversation in the right place. If you've been sacked from a job, does that mean you work again? You work. The English, there's an English expression.
Or if you've resigned from a job,
does that mean you work? No, you work. You work in one way or the other. So there's an English expression that says getting back on the bike. And it comes again from the analogy of learning how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
When you are learning how to ride a bicycle, you fall down.
Many times.
I can show you the scars I've had from my bike riding. But you have to get back on the bike. You have to get back on the bike. So, and that is what life is about. Because the moment you don't get back on the bike, then you are ready to die. So, life, number one, is a continuum. Number two, is a work in progress. Number three, it doesn't stop until you die. So, no matter what it is, and for you to be a complete human being, love is a very important factor. That's why in some circles, I'm unashamedly known as a love doctor. I love, man.
That's true. And I will add to what you're saying that we should all learn. It's difficult sometimes, but I think we should all learn as much as possible to forgive ourselves.
Yes. First,
we should learn to forgive ourselves because in forgiving ourselves, it gives us also the opportunity to forgive
those who have transgressed against us.
Even have the courage to try again.
Absolutely.
Because we're forgiving ourselves. And so, and based on this, what would you say is your final word to conclude on all that we've discussed and to wrap it up, maybe in a sentence or two before we go?
We are all a work in progress. That's number one. We don't know it all. So when that thing is in your mind, before you meet the next person, know that they also don't know it all. And once both of you don't know it all, there'll be points of conflict. I don't know this, you don't know this. So obviously when we meet, there'll come a point where there'll be conflict because we both don't know it. Move past that. Move past that. Find a solution. Find support. When both of you realize that you are not really getting it, look for numbers. Yeah, I'm a numbers man. I like numbers. Look for numbers. Numbers do not necessarily, like I said before, do not necessarily mean they are right. But they do not necessarily mean it's wrong either. A perspective
from others.
Yes. If 10,000 people say, "Oh, this thing has worked for me," and 400 say it's not worked for me, go with the 10,000.
You could be on the valley and you see an eagle flying, and you say, "Oh, it's very high," but the person at the peak of the mountain is actually seeing below because they're seeing on top of the eagle, but because you are in the valley, you are seeing beneath.
Absolutely.
So you would think,
absolutely perfect.
All right.
So learn to seek counsel from those who probably have seen it more than you have, and more importantly, which is, I think that is the base problem that a lot of us have, is that we do not implement what we have learned. We don't implement what we have learned. Take consensus. Listen. Agree that, oh, okay, they are right because of the numbers and their work and their research. Agree. And then implement. Don't listen and throw it away. And that is why a PhD is better than a Dutch passport.
He had to throw that in. He had to throw that in. I knew he would definitely throw that in. For me, I would say in conclusion that love is a very beautiful thing, and no matter how many times you've been hurt, there is nothing in this life that is as beautiful as knowing that you are loved and you love someone. That is the only gift you can ever have. That is priceless. And so on that note, on today's episode, we are coming to the end of Spill the Tea as usual. My name is Queen Nita, and I am with my most amazing person on this earth, Kofi Gbedemah. Kofi, thank you for coming on Spill the Tea with me this week, and it was nice having you.
It was a pleasure being here.
All right then.
Thank you, Nita.
Okay. So on that note, follow on all the social media handles as displayed on the screen. See you next week.